Hello, everyone. Welcome to iMPACT, the show that celebrates individuals and organizations throughout your community and up and down Florida's Space Coast. I am Kathy King, your host, and I'm joined by a very special person today, Kim Pleasance, who is the Executive Director of Children's Home Society of Florida. Kim, welcome. We're so glad to have you with us today. Tell us a little bit about your role as the Executive Director.
As the Executive Director of the Brevard Division, my role is to support our staff here locally who are out serving at-risk children and families in their homes, in our group homes, in the schools, and also to work with the community when a need is identified to meet that need with programming to help support at-risk kids and keep them safe.
Having been a teacher for many, many years, I have seen so many kids that look at risk. Tell us a little bit about what an at-risk child looks like.
An at-risk kid looks like any child. Could be your neighbor. You never know what's going on with a child. As a matter of fact, there's a cartoon that I like to reference. It's this little child in an elementary school, and the child is saying, "Can someone help me carry these things? I'm late to math class." And what he's carrying is baggage, and it's homelessness, it's hunger, and it is abuse. It's not worn on the outside, it's on the inside.
It's carried on the inside.
Yes.
That's just so sad, and I know every 47 seconds a child is abused or neglected, and that's unbelievable to me. I mean, that means during the course of our show we have kids who are abused and neglected. And you don't normally think that neglected would be abused, but in many cases it is. So tell us a little bit about how you discover these kids and what you actually do to get them out of the home, and what is the procedure for your home care?
Okay. Well, when anyone has a suspicion that a child is being abused, the first thing that they should do is call the 1-800 number, 1-800-96-ABUSE. And an investigator will then come out and investigate the allegation and determine whether or not the child is safe. Sometimes they can receive services in their home and remain safely with those supports, and sometimes they need to be removed from their home in order to be safe. We have a residential group home here in Brevard, Hacienda Girls Group Home.
I've heard of that, and I know it's a fabulous establishment. So tell us a little bit about Hacienda Girls Ranch.
Okay. Well, Hacienda Girls Ranch, right now we have one group home for girls. We can house up to 12. We have 9 girls with us right now. It is a house. It is a home-like environment. By design, we want the girls to be comfortable. We want them to have as normal a teenage experience as they can. They attend school, they do sports, we have volunteers come in and cook for them and teach them life skills that a family would normally do so that they can be successful when they turn 18 and are out on their own. And we also have a transitional home on our campus. So when the girls do turn 18, they can actually go to the transitional home and continue to receive support while they finish their schooling, go to college, look for a job. So we're lucky to have that.
So the success rate for this must be really high for these girls, because they get extra special care.
They do. However, unfortunately, our girls come with, like I talked about in the cartoon, a lot
Baggage.
of extra things. And trauma, after years of research, we know that trauma actually affects the brain chemistry. So when it keeps the kids, or anyone who's experienced trauma, kind of like a war veteran, in a fight or flight mode. So that's where you'll see, like in a school-like setting, where kids are reacting, they have no filter, they have no ability to say, is this a good decision? It's just a knee-jerk reaction. They might get into a fight, a verbal altercation, And a lot of times we'll see our kids in trouble in school that way. So we provide counseling to help them work through the trauma and develop their emotional intelligence so that they can identify how they're feeling and not act right away, but make better decisions.
Is this correlated with the schools? I mean, the teachers I know sometimes have to call in. They're responsible legally to call if they see a child that's been abused, but sometimes neglected. And that's something that I'm not sure is always something seeable. You can't look at a child really and know that they've been neglected. One of the videos on your website showed a child that looked just like her best friend and who was hungry and had had no breakfast. And so, you know, she might come from a good home, but she doesn't get the care and the love, and she's just neglected.
Right, and with neglect, oftentimes you'll see it's coupled with substance abuse. So with parents who are misusing drugs and alcohol, there might be domestic violence in the home. You'll see kids who are parenting their younger siblings, and that's all considered neglect.
Gosh. You told me that this was really a statistic from the entire state, but I read teens run away from home because it's not a safe environment and they don't feel safe. And where do they go and what do they do, and how do we address that in our state and in our counties?
Unfortunately, a lot of times the kids are on the streets. They're running to friends, sometimes other family members, it could be boyfriend, girlfriend. And what you'll see then is when kids come into foster care as teens, like if they've run away,
right,
they're labeled as troubled teens, and they're looked upon as they've done something wrong in order to get there, when really what we do is look at their situation as what's happened to you. So that's how we work with them and work through the trauma that they've been through and help them then to change their behaviors and get their lives together, get back into school, get a job, learn computer skills, things like that.
Well, there was a great program called Tech Success that you have on your the website as well. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know that is a crushing blow to some of the kids who just do not have access to computers.
Yes, not only not access, but as you talked about kids running away, or even families who move multiple times, or kids who have been in foster care for a length of time and have had to move to different locations. The kids don't always have a consistent education. So what Tech Success is, it's a partnership with Children's Home Society and Microsoft Youth Spark, to where we are trying to bridge the technology gap for our at-risk kids, because it's vital that they know how to use some of these Microsoft programs, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And what the system does, it's an online portal, and it offers them incentives and rewards to keep them engaged, but we want them to learn how to use this technology so that then they can take online classes, they can apply for jobs online, they can write a resume. We can also use the program to identify what they're good at, what it is that sparks their interest, so that we can link them with professionals in the community to then be a mentor and take them to the next step.
What a great program.
Yes.
Well, what is the success rate of this? And I also want to know, do these children ever get back into the home? Because I know ultimately that would be the goal, to get these children and families back together so that they can be a family again. But a lot of times that's not possible. In Brevard, is that something that is done a lot, or?
When a child is removed from their family, almost 100% of the time, the goal is to reunite them with the family.
Right.
So their parents are given goals, actually, of their own to meet in order to make the home a safe environment for the kids to come back to.
Are there classes? I mean, do the parents have to attend classes? Is it
Sometimes
some kind of a contractual thing that
It's called a case plan.
Okay.
And it's filed with the court, and it's monitored by the court. And they have a case manager that works with them in order to complete those tasks.
Gosh, I just know that there's so many kids who are struggling out there, not just with schoolwork. When you come into a classroom as a teacher and you watch a child come in and they are hungry and they are not focused and they're angry, they've been yelled at, and they're not dressed properly and they're not clean, there are just so many reasons to want to take them out of the home. And do you find that there are a lot of kids that you really can't take and you can't help?
It depends. When an investigator goes in, they'll assess for safety, because sometimes it's just a matter of poverty, and poverty
Right.
is not, it doesn't mean a child is unsafe.
Right.
Sometimes the family might just need some supports, and we can help them with that. But if they are unsafe, if they do need to come into the foster care system, then that's where we would get involved. Now, with community schools, we can work with the whole family, which is exciting, because the goal is to bring all of the resources that are available in the community to the school, which is right there where the parents have access. We can do GED classes, we can do, if it's needed, English as a second language, we can do job skills while we're working with the kids on,
Right.
Getting up to reading level. Our purpose is to support teachers and the school in the learning
And you
environment.
said Endeavor was our community school,
Yes.
which is close by.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how that changed over. Why did you choose Endeavor?
Okay, well, Endeavor was, I believe, an F school and a Title I school. Also, it's located in the middle of a lower income neighborhood, and a lot of the kids were struggling academically. So what we do is we bring in a community school director who works very closely with the principal to identify what supports are needed for the teacher, for the teachers, the faculty, and for the kids, so that we can support that learning environment. One of our partners is Brevard Health Alliance, and they have a mobile health mobile,
Wow.
for lack of a better word, that is completely outfitted to provide pediatric medical services and dental services.
Oh,
And
what a great service.
yes, so that has already started, and kids are visiting the medical facility on Mondays. All we need is a release from their parents, and they can be seen. The medical personnel then will keep in contact with the parents and let them know what's going on, but they don't have to take off work, which affects them financially.
Exactly.
The kids can be seen, whatever the problem is can be alleviated, and then they can go back to the classroom and continue learning.
Is there vision care along with this?
Yes.
How old are the kids that you in foster care?
Well, actually, there was a law passed about 2 years ago, which created extended foster care. So kids can stay in foster care if they have a disability up until they're 22, or if they do not, up until 21. And that's because we were seeing kids who were 17, turning 18, but they weren't yet done with their high school diploma. So these kids can stay in foster care, continue to receive case management services and support, and continue with their education.
And how much of the life skills do you actually teach? Like if kids they are getting a GED, but they want a skill of some sort, like auto mechanic, or they're not really aiming for college, do you provide other services that give them skills in addition to high school?
We don't provide them ourselves, but with the kids that we serve, if they identify an interest, we will definitely link them and support them in getting that service or learning that trade, or going in that direction.
Well, I read that one thing on your website I loved. It says, "We're never satisfied with what is. We constantly pursue what can be."
Yes.
And I think that's a great vision for the future as far as finding the kids in Brevard. Do you think that Florida has a lower amount of range of kids other than the rest of the states? I mean, do we get a lot of those families that come to Brevard?
Florida has a lot of children in foster care right now. There's a pendulum that swings back and forth. Sometimes kids receive services in their home more so, and then sometimes when the climate is a little more conservative, they're removed from their homes and served in foster care. And right now we have a lot of kids in foster care. Here in Brevard, we deal with such a small population of the kids in foster care in our group home, but there are multiple agencies that have foster homes, that have other group homes, so it's a vast number.
Wow. It's kind of overwhelming, isn't it, to be able to look out there and know the need is there and so great. What are the goals of Children's Home Society as far as the future goes in expanding what you're doing?
Our number one goal is to keep kids safe. Child safety is our number one priority. And we would love to see to stop the cycle of abuse. So each child that we work with, each teen, each family, we are making a little bit of a difference in stopping that cycle. Because when a child is cared for, is nurtured, they are less likely to abuse when they become a parent.
How many kids actually go back to their homes and find that the families can readjust themselves and have learned enough to embrace their kids back and bring them back home?
Kids don't stay in foster care their whole lives. The goal is always some sort of permanency. So if it's not with their family, then we're looking for a relative, or we are looking for an adoptive family, or maybe just a teacher that they've developed a relationship with who wants to be a mentor and wants to parent that child. So permanency can take can look like many different things, but it's not lingering in the foster care system.
Right. And how many adoptive families do you have? Do you do adoptions? I mean, is that part of the program, or it's mainly just foster care?
Here in Brevard, it's foster care. In our Jacksonville office, we still do adoptions, yes, or in divisions where we do dependency, work with the foster care system, we do adoptions as well.
Oh my gosh, it just seems overwhelming. Do you have a counseling division?
We do.
So, and the counseling would be for kids, and is it, I'm trying to get a picture of separate kids, separate families, or as a family unit. How is the counseling?
All of the above. So we have a counselor that focuses on our girls that are at Hacienda, and we have many counselors who are out in the community providing services. We focus a lot on trauma and healing trauma. We work with families, we work with individuals, we work with the kids in the foster homes.
What about physical abuse? What happens after that?
That would be the same as any type of abuse. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
they're put in a safe environment, and then the process begins to work with the child and with the whole family, and try to help them heal and to get better, so that they have a stronger family that the child can come back to.
Do you have a favorite success story?
I do. I've been with the agency for about 20 years now. And I used to work with families in their homes. So there was this one family in particular that it was a single mom. She had an autistic son, and he was in foster care. And she did absolutely everything that she needed to do to get him back. And she advocated for him at school. She learned about the law with kids with disabilities, and she did regain custody of him and was able to parent him. So that was a successful reunification.
That is success.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it is.
How did she lose him in the first place? She just didn't know how to take care of an autistic son, or?
Right, it was just an incident that occurred, and someone called the abuse registry. She was frustrated in that moment, didn't make good decisions as far as parenting.
Do you ever have calls from kids who say they've been abused when they really haven't?
That doesn't really happen often, as
'Cause
often
once
as you would think.
kids sometimes think that they can call. They can call 911 and say, my dad hit me. And that will relieve everything that's going on in the house. They don't have to worry about it anymore. And a lot of times it's just normal parenting. But how do you discern which is abuse and which is just discipline?
Well, the investigator, when the protective investigator goes out to the home, they interview the family members, the child, neighbors, maybe extended family, to try and get a good picture of the family functioning and what's really going on, and then they assess from there. That doesn't happen very often. You might have neighbors to call or someone else that calls and it's unfounded. But kids who are being abused are not usually the ones that call, because they, for the most part, would rather stay with the family that they know and love, even if it is abusive, than to go to a situation that is completely foreign and just as scary.
And they will protect their parents at all costs.
They love their parents,
Yeah,
yes.
that's an amazing thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, what would you like our viewers to know about Children's Home Society of Florida? I mean, tell us the things that are important to you and information that you want our viewers to know.
I would like to convey, the word potential comes to mind. And every child is born with potential, unlimited potential.
Absolutely.
And due to circumstances in their lives, they might not be realizing that. So what we want to do is to help them to realize their full potential, whether that's by getting counseling, by being involved with the community school, having a mentor. You know, our teens are often, people are afraid of teens.
That's an understatement.
But underneath all of those behaviors, maybe the unkind words, the cursing, there are kids who have experienced things that kids should never have to experience.
No, I agree.
So they've developed coping skills. Our teens and our kids, they need mentors, they need volunteers to work with them. They need someone who is just there for them.
And there's so many of us who can help in this circumstance and read to kids, read to the younger kids, go to the schools, find out what you can do. And
Yes, absolutely.
Getting involved in any way, just showing that you love people, that you care about them. And if you see abuse, tell our viewers what they should do. And I guess that's really important.
Yes, to call 1-800-96-ABUSE. It's not our job to investigate abuse as a community. It's our job to, if we have an inkling that it's occurring, just to call so that a professional can come out and look into the situation.
And don't be afraid to call. If it's not abuse, hallelujah. If it is abuse, then you have done a good deed, and it's very important.
Yeah.
I know that there is a guardian ad litem program that works throughout Brevard. Do you all use that program on a regular basis?
The girls who are living at Hacienda Girls Ranch, each one of them is in foster care, and each one has a guardian ad litem who specifically is there to look out for their well-being.
And take their points to court and
Yes,
listen to
absolutely.
them and
To
and
represent
believe them.
them.
Yes, to
Yes.
represent.
Yes.
I also read on your website that there's a K for K program, and I'm assuming that's Kids for Kids, which I have always loved and believed in, that kids really can teach other kids better than we can teach kids. So tell us a little bit about that program.
Well, the program was started by a young man who saw that there were kids that were less fortunate than he was, and he wanted to do something about that. So he made a video, and he got his friends and his contacts and his circle to donate money so that kids in the community who were not as well off as he was could do extracurricular activities, could maybe join clubs, could do things that cost money that they didn't have money for. And what we use it for locally, for instance, Endeavor, our
Right.
Endeavor Elementary. Sometimes the kids can't afford field trips. So the school will be going on a field trip, and certain children would need to be left behind because their parents can't afford to send them. So that's what that money can be used for, so that kids can go on field trips, so that we might help them get a school uniform so that they don't stand out from the rest of the crowd, so that maybe they can get some sporting equipment so that they can participate in sports at school, things like that.
What a fabulous program.
It really is.
I've had kids in my class who have had their tennis shoes held together with electrical tape, you know, where the sole has been taped on. And kids do notice, and their hearts get broken, you know, when other kids don't have a backpack or they don't have something that they themselves have. But to take the initiative to do that is a really special thing.
Yes.
So
these are some special young people that started this.
They are there.
Yes.
Well, are there any other things that you would like people to know about the Children's Home Society? What the kids are doing, what the parents are doing, what you are doing?
Well, we would love for the community to become involved with any of our programs by volunteering at the school. Like you said, you mentioned reading to the kids, or participating in the after-school activities with them. We love when members of the community come to Hacienda Girls Ranch and do activities with the girls, maybe cook them dinner, maybe teach them how to cook a meal. They love it when we have guests and people from the community to come. We can always use volunteers. We can always use mentors. We can use donations for things like I talked about. Our girls are, high school age, so they have prom, they have yearbooks, they have, just all of those things that come with a cost. They participate in extracurricular activities. So anything that helps with the expense of that, the cost of the reimbursement for care that we receive doesn't cover all of the costs. But we want our kids to have everything that any other young person would have.
Kim, just in case our viewers want to call and be a part of the Hacienda Girls Ranch in some way, what is the number to get involved with that?
It's 321-752-3170, extension 221. We'll get them the receptionist, and who will put them in contact with the right person.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can tell that there's a very great need in our county to help our kids and help our community and help our teens. This has been a really heartwarming show, and I thank you so much for joining us. Kim Pleasance, thank you. You are great to be here with us today, and I know that you are doing a fabulous job with our kids. I'm Kathy King, the host of Impact, and thank you for joining us. Come back and see us on our next show.
More information about this program is available online at millermediagroup.org.